Is it success or isn't it? You have to kind of wonder what actually is happening in the background of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and actually, frankly, I don't really care because I am having super good times with this simulator. What we've got is fixed wing flight with bugs. As you can see, we've got a couple of things happening here in this mission, but either way, when these missions are done, these missions actually generate a really good amount of money, and they're a great way to earn money as you're trying to increase the level of your pilot. Getting these landings right is extremely important. Broadening your horizons is extremely important. Being able to do each and every one of these missions becomes pretty relevant into the world of how much money you can actually make. Even when you're out here doing these search and rescue missions, these things get to be interesting. Easy, yet interesting. You'll get weather conditions. They're easy to deal with. And a lot of these are just super easy to do after you've done them several times over and over, which, if you don't know by now, Search and Rescue Heli 241 on sale this week has been doing these missions for a hot minute. Over-the-water rescues are relatively easy. What I've had to do is make sure that I have a helicopter in an area where these missions become available frequently. Practice, practice, practice. Just straight up in the soup. Where do you want it? Where do you want to be? I don't want to be in the soup, but I'll tell you what. This is an exciting way to fly this simulator. Challenging to every bit of the imagination. I am all in. You must practice your skills at rescuing these individuals from all of these places around the world as frequently as you're allowed to, both in the employee and freelancer side of this simulator. There's no question about it. You have to do these missions on both sides. You have to consider how much these aircraft cost to maintain. And no matter how broken these graphics are, where people are sliding in and out of the airframe of the helicopter, it doesn't matter. The fact that we are in sim making these missions happen is pretty incredible. These missions are becoming increasingly simple and a whole lot of fun. Just a whole lot of fun. making sure that when you're coming into your landing with your survivor on board, making sure that your direction of travel is in line with the proper runway becomes extremely important, so you don't get those little ATC dings, blah, blah, blah. Go slow. Everyone is worried about making money, 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 money. Where can I make the money? What do you want to be doing with the simulator? What you want to be doing is focusing on career growth, airline growth, and what you want to be doing in this simulator for yourself. Everybody's mission set is going to be different. How you get there will be a decision you hopefully make on your own. I'd like to be a little bit of an influence if I can. If not, I'm not worried about it. However, I've come across some things that have been very beneficial. And sharing them with you is what I want to do. I want to be able to get this bug information in front of Microsoft as quickly as possible so these issues can be fixed. Make sure that when you're coming in on these approaches, you're coming into the proper runway. It's the little things that count. We've never really received a list of things that we need to accomplish in each one of these missions to truly meet Microsoft's expectations. On several occasions, Microsoft's expectations as far as these frames go with your flight path are just wrong. However, become the pilot in command of your flight. Make sure your key bindings are right. Every single time you go into a flight, and it'll work for you. What is disappointing is the differences between Xbox and PC. But we'll get there. Because we're coming down the runway with a full steam ahead approach to Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I am on an approach, and things are coming along nicely. As you see me coming into a landing on an airport that is just a strip of snow on the banks of Alaska, you have to understand that my company is making money for itself. This costs money. Be aware of how much it's going to cost you to maintain these aircrafts. Don't get ahead of yourself. Microsoft, Asobo, and the team has kind of gotten ahead of themselves by relying a lot on AI to generate some of these mission sets. Because we'll come into a hold short, and then all of a sudden, 20 yards away from us will be our parking spot. These are issues we're putting in front of them on the forums to make sure that things go right. Eventually. We get great grades, we do all these missions, we come in, we even go into the mountains. Over and over, we fly, we fly, we fly. Where are they? Where are they? They can't be found. You want to do everything you can to find your survivor. Clip through as many spots as you can. When you get there, start to pay attention. Maybe not this much attention. I get distracted. I get distracted by animals. But I digress every time, and I come back to the mission at hand. I've taught you this trick before. When you're coming in for search and rescue missions, what you need to be making sure you're doing is finding the flattest spot possible within a mile of your survivor. Now, when I did this mission, you can see that I am landing at a 0.08 nautical mile distance from my target. I am on the absolute extremity of the possibilities to actually exit my aircraft and go walk up to my survivor. But I'm gonna try anyway, because 0.02 is still the difference. So I get out, I walk down, I even get into a run. As I walk into a run, this thing literally starts to duplicate issues and solve the problem at the same time. So I walk up to the survivor, and it says that you're about to abandon the mission, you're too far away. But at the same time, the simulator says, nope, we're good. Risk of mission failure happens. We're loading. It all happens simultaneously. Bumpkin Air, can you do a sinking ship rescue? Absolutely, I can. We will get there, my man, I assure you. Mr. Telemark also says, is live weather available in career mode? So there's options, right? So what you have is the chance to actually roll back time. You can operate in not only real-time weather eventually, but you can roll back time. So if the weather is too severe, you can turn the clock back. And it's a 24-hour interval that you're given. It's a pretty incredible feature. So where I'm sitting in my career right now is I've increased this quite a bit. I'm sitting at 18 certifications passed and 20 specializations unlocked. And we are looking for missions where we can do deep sea. Like, let's get into the water, right? This is all dependent on where your location is. You can see where my pilot is right now. There's no search and rescue missions available, and I am on the freelancer side of the planet. I do have an aircraft in North America up here in Vancouver, and a mission here that is 62,000 strong over land. But I have another mission not too far off to the northwest in Alaska, where it says there's an aircraft needed, and the profits are going to be 67,000. If I click on it, it's going to say that I need 50,000 credits just to get myself into this area. However, by working these missions both in freelance and employee modes, I'm able to make sure that my account right now is at a level where I'm able to move around the planet in short increments, relatively short increments, that are only going to cost me 50 G's. Okay? It's a relatively acceptable cost. However, you can see there that it does say that I need maintenance. This aircraft needs maintenance. This is where things get absolutely redonkulously expensive if you consider working things AI. Because if I do the update checkup, it's 13,000. Okay, I'm going to cancel. If I go into this aircraft and I escape back, I'm going to go back one more time to the world map. And before I get into this mission, I want to make sure that my aircraft as a airline owner is up to par. So I'm going to escape back even one more time and go even further out. Bumpkin Air hasn't done this mode yet. Well, I've been doing it for a little bit too long, and I've got some experience under my belt, and I think I'm learning some things that are extremely valuable for this process. So I'm going to go even one step further back. I'm going to go all the way into my headquarters. I'm going to see that I've got a pretty decent level. I'm at a 165. My reputation level has taken a hit because some of the missions that I've been running with a fixed wing aircraft haven't been paying off so well. But at the same time, what you want to do is come into all companies, manage your company, and make sure that your crew configuration is set to on. You also want to make sure that when you manage the aircraft and you do this checkup, watch what else happens. It also says that the engine needs to be maintained. To do this maintenance, it's going to cost me 384,678 credits. That is going to take the majority of what I have right away. However, it says the last update checkup was 5 hours ago, and it's mandatory again in another 19 hours. So I've got some time to kind of maybe massage that number a little bit. I'm going to take a risk and not dump that money in there, but I'm going to make sure that this search and rescue company is active and ready to go, and then I'm going to dive into a mission. Bumpkin Air wants to do the sinking ship rescue, and that's what we're going to do. So I am off the coast where see how many missions are now being generated around the planet? If you've been following the channel for a long time, you've seen that these missions in the freelancer modes just haven't even been available at all. So when we go into these offshore deep sea sinking ship missions and we click on the details portion of it and we even see the full briefing, it doesn't give you enough information. On a lot of occasions, what it asks you to do is maintain a certain speed on the back track to your airport when you're bringing your survivor in. None of that information is shared here. SAR Medic 911. I like the name, first of all. It's decent. So close to home right there. But we're going to do one in the middle of the ocean. I am not even going to go into my EFB because, frankly, at this point of the quote-unquote game, I don't really need it. I don't. The only thing you can really do in that is make sure that your frames, or your visual assistance frames, I should say, are where they should be in relation to altitude. The one thing you want to make sure of when you do this is actually fuel and payload. Because you can see that I've got a little bit of room to manage the fuel here and either increase or decrease this before I get into the mission. Here's something else I'm testing. If I leave this untouched and say cancel, I'm able to use the repair and refuel button in midair, and I don't think it's actually impacting the amount of money I spend on that mission. If I increase my fuel load before I take off, it's impacting the amount of money I'm putting out as a company. Right? So there's a lot of different small issues here that I'm testing. But we're going to come in and we're going to do the same old rigmarole and get off the ground as quickly as we possibly can because it's search and rescue. Helicopters 241 were on sale. This is a buy one, get one free environment, and you know how it goes. Quick is good. Let's get that crew on board. Now, SAR Medic 911, when you say click on details, what exactly did you mean? Have I covered it, or did I miss what you were asking for? Wait for these calls to come through. I'm always going to wait for that torque rating to come back down. Let's see where we are in our EFB right here. I'm going to quick reply to announce a taxi. The maintenance, you said, that you can repair specific parts. Absolutely. I kind of went through that and avoided it at this point, right? I don't want to spend that chunk of change right now. I want to kind of wait on it because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to survive this mission without dumping that much into it based off of how much time is still left in that countdown. You know what I mean? In. Let's put this into a flight ready status. I want to bring my EFB up, and I'm going to actually take this and send this onto a second monitor so I can always maintain a visual reference with my EFB. Even if you as an audience don't see it, I can. I'll bring it in if we need to, but let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Yeah, you don't have to spend a complete amount. It's specific parts that you can do it to. Easy does it is the way to go about it. This is all a little bit about a lesson in humility. When it really boils down to it. I want to see this part of the mission eliminated from it, though. There's no reason for me to be making a U-turn at the end of the airport right now, but we're going to do it anyway because that's where we're at. It's a great tip. Thanks for joining in, SAR Medic 911. I appreciate you being here and checking out the channel. All of your input is important. We are bringing these issues back to Microsoft forums on a regular basis. Hopefully you're involved. Now, the one thing I like to do about these missions, to make things a little bit quicker, is to sim rate increase and sim rate decrease sparingly. So generally on the way out to a survivor, I will go 2 times forward. But you have to remember that your control systems are operating at a real-time configuration, regardless of turbulence. You have to remember that your control systems are still being recognized in real time, not fast forwarded. So as you come into your search, I'm at this point only 1 times in to increase sim rate and decrease. And I'm just going to make a right or a left-hand turn when I come into my search area. Get relatively good off of the surface. And when I make that left-hand turn back towards the center, I'm going to get kind of low to the surface, but not too low. I'll make another turn back to the right. Because in this environment, the mirror that the survivor brings with is easily recognizable. And what do you know? There they are. So now I'm going to go sim decrease one more time, and now I am back into real time with my aircraft. I'm going to come up on it and use the intercoms when I am close enough to my survivor. I'm going to zoom the camera out a little bit, as far out as I can zoom the camera externally. And now what I'm going to do is actually focus on altitude and stability. When I come up over the target, a lot of the times over the ocean like this, no matter what direction you put the helicopter into, you're going to fly in an orange bowl of soup. But you can already see at the bottom of the screen that my rotor is causing turbulence on the water. At a certain altitude and perspective, you can actually see where that center of the aircraft is. Where all of those graphics come to a point in the middle is directly under your aircraft. Flying these missions over the ocean right now, at least as far as I've tested, the only way you can really get these done effectively is to use this sort of external method and pay attention to where you think your center of aircraft is in relation to the raft before you open the door and create a hover. And now it's going to turn into just an orange bath of nonsense while you try to maintain over a hover over something you can't see anymore. And I am drifting away from my survivor, so I'm going to kick the rudder around and try to move that smoke out of my way. Each one of these rescues, even though they tend to be in the same location every single time, for me at least, these have always wound up to be slightly different. So now you can see I have a medic in the ocean. He's just a little paper mache object at this point. So what I can do is actually bring this paper mache piece of search and rescue material out of the water. And I'm going to put him under the sling again, and you can see him swinging under the helicopter. All right, from a much greater distance, and he is no longer in the water. He's above it, and you have to sort of time and place this individual on the raft. I am truly not worried about how long this takes at all. I'm worried about the stability of the aircraft and not crashing it or running out of fuel. As long as I keep that hover above target mission step in the green at this point, the biggest thing is trying to get your rescue swimmer as close to that raft as possible for as long as possible. And if it doesn't work, you need to bring the swimmer back out of the water. If you wait here for about 15-20 seconds, it's not going to trigger this sequence. So just bring your aircraft back up. Slowly, patiently, and gently. Just like they taught you when you were doing the hook transport missions. It's not going to look like it. But it's all practice for exactly what you're expected to do in these missions. The object is to lay your rescue swimmer down basically in the boat with the survivor. And you can still see the center point of my aircraft's rotor wash in the water is slightly behind, so I'm trying to give a little forward stick as I bring my rescue swimmer down. All right, I got him a little bit closer now. I'm a lot closer. So what I'm going to do is just see if I bring this thing into a steady hover right now with him that close, what happens if I stay here for 30 seconds. Even in their cutscenes, they show the rafts moving with the undulation of the water. I have yet to see that happen during one of these search and rescue missions. I am seeing a reaction between the smoke and the rotor wash, but my rescue swimmer is just straight up drowning, and I'm going to come back up one more time. I am going to bring this rescue swimmer all the way back up into the aircraft by staying in a very high hover. And I'm going to come away from the boat. I don't care what the graphics look like at this point, but eventually that rescue swimmer is now being hoisted back into my aircraft. Automatically. It's going to take a while, but he's coming back up into the aircraft. They put out all of the slack into the water. I have come across these missions in every different method, and it is different literally every time. As a matter of fact, this time the rescue swimmer isn't even coming back up into the aircraft. He should have. He has before. So this is all about, okay, hands-on flight with your equipment. Right? Patience pays off. I'm not worried about how long this takes. I'm worried about the safety of my crew, my aircraft, and my survivor. It will react differently every single time because Microsoft Asobo High Performance Group are relying so heavily on AI that the missions are being told to not be the same twice. You see how much payload, like the entire slack line is in the water. The whole thing is in there. I have to come up so high off the water just to get this swimmer in there. Even if you were to come back into your aircraft and turn on the hoist option, and now I have what is supposed to be manual control over my hoist. I have it set up on my hoist task for hoist increased, hoist decreased. Now you can see my survivor is bringing himself, or not my survivor, my rescue swimmer has brought himself back up to the fuselage of the aircraft. I can restart my approach. This changes literally every time. Be able to adapt to any situation, maintain control over your aircraft, and don't worry about time. Slow and steady wins the race. I'm gonna get paid come hell or high water. Bowl of soup. Can barely even see my rescue swimmer. I'm drifting a little bit to the left. Too much. It's a rescue floater. I love it. And again, all of that slack, even though I am right on top of my raft with that kind of like star pattern of rotor wash in the water, I am right where I need to be. It doesn't trigger it. So what you need to do is just constantly go back and forth. Even though I was able to get my rescue swimmer back up and start over, I wasn't able to get him on the right spot the first time. So this is where all of that training with your hook transport missions in your H125 or Chinook come into play. Now you've got that rescue swimmer swinging underneath the aircraft and you need to drop him on the target. You don't need to be as careful with this one, but you do need to be accurate. You only see that ripple when you're at that certain angle. I've tried to do these missions from inside the cockpit, and it is absolutely impossible. I don't know what it would do in VR. That's one thing I would love to try. Now I've got my rescue swimmer in the raft. Now it's maintain that hover. He's in the raft. I'm just going to maintain a hover. I'm starting to get the cable mission, right? I'm starting to get lift. Harness is coming in. I'm just going to maintain that hover. Your rescue swimmer needs to be in the raft with the survivor to get tension on your cable. If it doesn't seem like it's happening fast enough, give it a little bit of power while staying over your target. And now you can see my rescue swimmer has my survivor getting in the aircraft. I'm staying in the hover as long as possible. I'm pointed towards my RTB, waiting for the door to come closed. If it doesn't come closed quick enough, I will slowly nudge the nose forward, very gently. Just, there you go. You see the little hover over target go away from green. The options change. Patience is a virtue. I haven't done sim rate increase, decrease yet. I'm still in real time, but now I can kick one level of sim rate increase into effect. And now I'm essentially at a 2 times rate. I'm going to do it one more time, so now I'm basically at a 4 times rate. And I'm just going to wait for the ATC calls and make sure that I'm coming into the proper runway when I get there. I am not worried about altitude at all. I know I'm going to come down into a pattern that is much lower than these visual assistants. Safe, smooth flight for your patient is more priority than your altitude. We're going to sim rate decrease one time. I have experienced quite a bit of wind in this specific location that plays heavily into sim rate increase and decrease. And even though I know what runway I'm going into, 01, I'm going to wait for these options of mission steps to come up before I get into my own pattern. I don't care where I intercept the pattern as long as I intercept the pattern. I'm going to go sim rate decrease as far as I can and then go 1, 2, 3, 4 more times up, and now I'm back into the real time. And that is just an option to save you time. Optional at best. Make sure we're coming in at 01. Landing light is on. Flying to the final. Quick reply. Nice and steady. All right. Speed up when you need to. Slow down when you have to. Sim rate increase and sim rate decrease when used properly can save you a lot of time if you're really in that much of a hurry. Center of the field on this is basically the windsock. We'll make that approach to runway 1 and continue down to the hold short, which is about, I don't know, maybe 20 feet away from the parking spot, but we got to do both. And I'm okay with it. I'm in the search and rescue Heli 241 aircraft. I'm running a mission for myself. The profits are all mine. That's what matters to me. And there's more and more of them becoming available. The way that I've done that is to mainly run the Pilatus, which I initially just couldn't stand flying. But now that I've tweaked all of my control settings and made sure that that aircraft is functioning the way I need it to, those are great missions to get into on the employee side of things while you're not running your own aircraft. They make great money. And the sim rate increase on those longer 6.5-hour flights turned that mission into about a 1-hour flight. And the way I've been doing those most successfully is to sim rate increase, but hand fly the mission and never engage autopilot. Right? Because Microsoft is all about learning flight and this, that, and the other thing, where they want to teach people the art of flight. So keep your hands on the controls. That's what they're basically saying. And it's been working with great success. I've even started to do the fixed wing search and rescue missions, which I've completed, but none of my landings have been pretty whatsoever. It's actually quite terrifying. But let's see what kind of result we get out of that mission, because I'd consider it a success. It took a little while to pull them out of the water, but I'm in. %0 retrieval time. Baller. Yes, this is how it's done. Either way, the payday's coming. The experience is behind us, and we're looking at almost 77,000. Okay, great. Moving right along. I'm going to level up in the process. Not doing too bad. The one thing I don't like about this is how this company's tab takes so long to kind of update. You come in now, see how that number switched right here by almost 100K? That's one glitch that I'd like to see fixed relatively quickly. But now that we have that one done, there's more available. Rescue cork. Oh man, this bottle has been corked for a minute, because look what happens now. The same thing that we've been experiencing for a very long time. Even though there's more search and rescue missions available up and down the coast of North America, right? I'm going to have to pay to get there. Each and every time. So if I go into this mission here, it's another 54,000 credits just to get to the area. I have the money. I've got it. The problem is the maintenance of the aircraft. Because if you let that maintenance go for too long, I promise you, it's going to bite you. So even though I'm going to pay all of that money, I'm going to pay even more money to verify that this aircraft is flight worthy right now. I'm going to go into the management and I'm going to dump it. I'm going to do the mandatory checkup, 13K. And then, like you were saying earlier, right? Engine. Here's another 384,000 credits, which is going to take almost all of my bank account away. But I'm going to do it because I don't want to leave my aircraft in an unflyable condition. I'm not really worried about the bath. The bird bath could wait. I generally fly these from outside anyway. But now that that is there, I've got another 10 missions in front of me that I can get away with without spending that kind of money on it. And about every 24 hours or so, sometimes less, those missions regenerate. So what I'm thinking is I just need to start doing this until I have enough money in the bank, and possibly even using a different aircraft on the side to earn even more money. But I'm going to start dropping a couple of these helicopters around the planet to make sure that there is coverage everywhere there's a hot zone. I don't want to have to fast travel my aircraft around. What I want to do is get into the chopper and make sure that it's like maybe a 200 credit transfer, if that, and then keep moving. A little bit at a time. That's all it takes. A little bit at a time. I'm not trying to be Bezos. I'm trying to enjoy a flight simulator. I've seen people out there that already have like millions in their accounts, and I can only imagine how much time they spend in sim. I don't have that kind of time in my life. I'm just saying. To each their own. Everyone's going to have their own path. But do it slowly. Don't just rush in. Or go ahead. You do you, boo. We stay in touch. We touch. It's one of the greatest lines out of this simulator so far is we touch. Go ahead and pop this bird up. Go to a hold short. And I'm actually not even really too worried about the other aircraft on this airport. You can fly right through them and not worry about a thing. It's broken, but it's a great time. Wait for these ATC calls to go through. When it says enter the runway, feel free most of the time. I almost always keep these visual assistants on, especially during the takeoff and landings, or when you're doing the long haul missions. A lot of the times what you can do is actually just change your altitude in the EFB completely, and you can stop the ATC from following your flight and get out of the IFR version, go VFR, and just follow those visual references. Flight sim increase in a 6.5 hour mission might take an hour, but you're earning 6 figures. So you can maintain your aircraft's engine inside of your airline. It's about patience. This simulator's not even a month old. It is a month old, right? Like, come on. How much can we expect? Sim rate increase. 2 times. We're going to go all in. Now, this is a search pattern that I have not run before. I don't remember this location ever being searched before. But I'm in my own chopper. I'm in my own airline. I'm making money for myself. And that's what it's about. We've seen a couple of these missions take an extreme amount of time just because of, I don't know if it's a timing thing that Microsoft has embedded in their systems, but you don't see them pop smoke until you passed over their location like 3 times at 3 different altitudes. I'd like to see them clean up the experience between Xbox and PC users to make sure that it's more identical between the 2 platforms. Because that is not the case so far. I'm going to make a clockwise pattern over my search area right now. At about the same altitude, same speed. I'm not going to look behind me. I'm not going to do anything but just drive this thing in a circle around my search pattern. While the sim rate increase is engaged. And this is all testing. Now I'm going to sim rate decrease as I come to almost a full circle around my search area by one time. And I'm going to start looking around. I see smoke. Sim rate decrease one more time. I'm going to come around and start to approach my smoke. Optimize the system. Use it to your advantage. So here we have another one of these rescues that's in a location that is probably going to turn this helicopter into a toboggan. If we don't choose the appropriate place to land, we're going to run into some issues. So I'm going to zoom my camera out just a skosh. I'm going to reply that we've seen them. And I'm going to try to find just the flattest spot possible. But before I land, what I need to do is make sure that I manage my parking brake. Yeah, my H125 has skids. But Microsoft has decided that they need to incorporate a parking brake into this equation when you are sliding down a hill. So I'm going to try to find a little spot right here, close enough to the target, but flat enough where I might be able to land and get out. And I think that might be this little mound right in front of me here. I'm going to initiate parking brake before I hit the ground. I want to make sure that I'm in a very good spot. My tail rotor isn't going to impact the ground. My parking brake is engaged. I am not sliding down the mountain. My hands are off the controls. I can take control of my character. I can come out of the aircraft and actually walk or run down this hill towards my survivor. Make sure your parking brake is engaged before you leave your aircraft. Boom, cutscene. Ready to extract. Parking brake on skids. It works. You do you. We're going to take control back into the helicopter. Parking brake is still engaged. Bring that power back into the chopper. Disengage the parking brake. Fly back towards my base. Sim rate increase 1 time, 2 times. I'm going to wait for the ATC mission steps to change. This takes some getting used to with the turbulence. I'm coming out of the sky. I'm going to oh, wrong button. I'm going to pause and get into my aircraft. You can see that this bird is almost out of fuel. I'm going to put some fuel back into my aircraft. Repair and refuel. Mid-air. All right, you can even see the caution light on there that it says fuel. Pause. I should be back in control of my aircraft with fuel on board. If I'm not, sim rate decrease all the way back to pause. 1, 2. Slowly recovering from this. Your aircraft could have been fuel full when you took off. But by the time you get to that point of your mission, you may not have fuel in your aircraft anymore. It's recoverable. Know your key bindings, know your aircraft, know your failures, and how to recover from them. And of course, our flight medics got to know what they're doing, so they're going to check the condition of that patient in the back while we gently fly back to base without crashing in the meantime. So our precious little bird that we just spent a couple bucks fixing stays flyable. And it's almost like Microsoft and Asobo have built that sort of failure in on purpose to keep you as a pilot on your toes. They want your hands on the controls, people. That's what it becomes. This is a flight simulator. This isn't something to make fake money while you go do your laundry. Should it be? Probably, because it isn't, at the end of the day, a game. But managing all of these systems properly gets you the results you're looking for. I don't know how else to put it. Make sure you're replying to those ATC calls. I'm expecting runway 25. Just one notch of sim rate increase is still involved. Flying these, again, you're seeing everything sped up, but your controls will always happen in real time. So every once in a while, when you get close to something important, just drop that increase all the way down as far as you can, and then push it 4 more times towards the positive, and you're back in real time. If you don't want those visual assistants, set up a key binding, take them away. Make sure you get into that aircraft and make sure 2.5 is matching up with what they think the approach to 2.5 is. Because I've seen it reversed, and I've seen it give you ATC infractions along the way. And that's glitches built into the system. I don't even need to come all the way around to this final. I just need to make sure that I have enough room to make the call for final. So I'm actually going to make my turn short. As soon as it recognizes me on a final, I can call that out. If it doesn't work, and it did, there you go. But you can go into your ATC panel and force that. Otherwise, just use quick reply as an option. And you're in. SAR, Medic 911. How long have you been flying the sim? Have you had it installed since the launch? How long have you been going at 2024? Since the launch, but on and off. Yeah. Pretty much the same here. What is your take on it so far? What do you think? Also, because this is my own aircraft, what I am going to do is come in here and wait for my RPMs to come down before I engage my rotor brake. It takes a little longer, but I'll tell you what, it's a smart move. Let it come down, all on its own. It needs to save you the cost of repair. I would have to say that the 140 limit would be just about reasonable. We'll come back up. Pump it. Shut it down. I'm sure SAR Heli Phil would have an exact number. I agree completely. If you can look past the bugs, it is so much fun. Yeah, I've gone through that HOTAS settings anomaly more times than I care to admit, but I've just completed another search and rescue mission with 100% in all three aspects of grading, S rating, as my own airline, and that's what I'm here for. Almost 76K. This reputation thing is kind of like a seesaw of nonsense, but I digress. Because before, we've seen these missions completely disappear after completing one, but now They're just continuously available, and I can kind of move up and down the coast at this point. If I go to this one, the cost of moving is now $24,400. I still have that amount of money. We're looking at another ocean rescue. I'm in. It's a matter of aircraft placement. So what I want to do is save up enough coin to put another H125 on the planet where these missions are being generated, so no matter where they come up, my airline has a aircraft ready for deployment. And just keep traveling up and down those areas. And in the meantime, I will continue to run on that employee side of things just to keep that money flowing. If need be. You know what I mean? I'm in. Look at how dirty this helicopter is. Man, this has got some bugs on it. This is a road trip chopper right here. I don't care. Mechanically, it's sound. I don't fly from the inside very often at all. The HOTAS, like, button mapping, saving things is by far the most frustrating thing about this entire experience. Without question. Because days it works, days it doesn't. More and more missions, just one after the other. Put your aircraft not where you want it, put it where missions are frequent. We started this out comparing 2020 to 24, and I wanted to be in Reunion Island doing search and rescue missions, and I think it's only a matter of time before we just open up those areas. And we're going to have to do it a little bit at a time. Everyone just kind of rushed into this, and they were like, results now. And that's not how the world works all the time. Got to learn those lessons along the way. Take those chops. Again, this is a mission set that I've never run before. Never been here. No idea where the LZ is going to be. We're central USA, West Coast, California style. And a lot of the times, you have to be very careful. Look where it parked me in relation to the airport. If you don't go through all of those little communications before you even decide to make this turn onto the runway, it's going to negatively impact your reputation as a pilot. See what it has to offer. Sim rate increase one time. Looks like it's stable in my flight pattern. I'll sim rate increase one more time. Well, I hope things are going well too. Thank you very much, Miss Mandy, Liaison Officer. Mr., Mrs., whichever it may be. These water rescues always turned out to be extremely easy. We can already see our smoke from the downed vessel. And now all it takes is running a simple pattern either to the left or right. I found that actually choosing the left over the right has gotten less of a benefit, but now I'm going to decrease sim rate both times and pay more attention to what's on the water than how fast I'm flying. I want to bring that altitude down a bit. And I bet you anything if I made a 360 degree, or at least a 180. Let's do a 180 to the left right now. I'm going to wind up seeing my survivor behind me. Maybe. Am I overshooting my expectations right now? I don't know. There's a lot of sun out there. Let's bring that thing back around to the right. It's calling me a liar right off the bat. See, this time around I should have gone left instead of right. There's my survivor right ahead of me. It's one or the other, but it's almost immediate from the entry of your area. I don't know if you can see that in the stream just yet, but I've got my survivor dead ahead. I'm going to try to call it in. And we're going to try this nonsense one more time. We're going to get a little bit zoomed out. Going to move a little bit over to the left a little bit more with our camera. And we are going to slow roll this bad boy right up on our patient. And we're going to try a little bit of a different approach. So now what I want to do is basically put my skids on top of the raft from as low as possible before I initiate my rescue swimmer. Now I'm lucky enough not to have a gigantic plume of orange smoke as well, so my rescue swimmer is going to be much easier to deploy very close to my raft, even though it's still paying out all of that slack. If I come up into a 30-foot hover, will it recognize that it's close enough? I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. I know that that rescue swimmer can make it. He can make it there. But I'm going to need to force the hand it's just a matter of swing. It's so much fun every single time. You wanted one rescue mission over the water, you're getting two. A little bit different approach in both, but now in this version, we don't have smoke really causing too much of an issue. We dropped him in just a little bit too late. He was swinging quite a bit. We're going to bring him back down right now. Now he's in the boat. Get back into that hover. We start getting to those messages again. And we're just going to let it do its thing. A lot of slack for it to bring in. But that hoist is working on its own. I'm going to start swinging that aircraft around to the left to get myself pointed back in the orientation of base. Door comes closed. We're up, we're out. I can reset my view if I need to, or I can just stay here. Sim rate increase 1 time. 2 times. And this is all money from my company. I have installed this simulator on my PC 4 times so far. This is the best version I've seen so far. And I am confident that every single time updates are made, as long as you approach those updates and how your computer is receiving that new information properly, you're going to enjoy your experience. You don't have to do the sim rate increase, sim rate decrease. You can fly these missions in real time if you choose. But for the sake of streaming and how long these missions actually take, up to 6.5 hours on occasions when you're doing those medevac missions, it kind of helps. We'll connect to the ATC with these quick replies as we come in for our approach. Got a long final entry of just under 3.5 nautical miles. Yes, if you signal that you've seen them too early, it's just disastrous. And you could be staring right at them. But it's like they just don't see it until you're close enough. And I don't know what that range is just yet. But there is a range involved. I do know that it also matters whether or not you see them in the external view versus internal view. You have to consider the perspective of the pilot directly out of the aircraft. You have to be looking right at them. It says runway 16. I'll get back into the aircraft and verify my heading. That dirty windshield. This thing does need a bird bath. I will say that. However, it's still making missions. Making money. I just want like 5 of these things around the planet, minimum. And I'm not sure if you know this or not, but you can actually change where the hotspots are, and the hotspots are changed based off of season. So the hotspots will change from summer to spring, fall, and winter, all of those missions will be in different parts of the planet based off of the global season. Come into the runway, not the taxiway. And all this wants you to do is exit the runway and stop. Doesn't matter where you set it down, as long as you set it down without crashing off the runway. This is what we should be seeing in every single one of these SAR missions. I do enjoy the fact that it is random that stuff like that happens. Again, each mission has its own set of rules. Turn that light off. And again, we've got a fuel warning on. Less than a quarter of a tank. We're going to let that RPM spool down one more time. It's my aircraft, not the company's. There's so many things to look out for. They want your hands on the equipment. About the 180 mark so far. So let's go ahead. Let's engage that brake. Hey. Easy. All the way back. Do I need to come? Oh, cameraman. My cameraman's failing me. We'll call it good enough. I know I'm going to have to pay for those surcharges anyway. But I want to keep it to a minimum if I can. Mission success. Congrats. What kind of score? 100, 75, and 100. Deal. I'll take another S. Sending things in the right direction one more time. We're looking at almost 90. Wow, look at that. 90,000 plus. Boom. Right? Making money for ourselves. The cost of getting there wasn't that bad. And if we refresh our companies by going in and out of these all companies one time and then go back, this still says we're negative 478K. When our true bank account has a positive of 247,867. This amount of money, as you can see here in this graph, was greatly affected by maintenance and fuel. If you decide to open up multiple companies, please keep in mind how much it is going to cost to maintain each aircraft. I personally recommend sticking to one modality and just going for it. This mission, not that far off. I could probably go right back into this one, earn another 66K. Let's see what happens though as far as aircraft transport costs. Oh, this time it's only 1,630 credits. So the cost is getting less and less, but the profits are still all yours. If I manage the aircraft, My technician says it's good. The update checkup was done, it says, 5 hours ago, and it's mandatory in another 19 hours. I am going to give her a little bit of a whoosh. If I check on engine, it's only 5,000 credits to do it, but I'm not going to. We've been there, we've done that, we know what we're working with. I'm just going to fly another fully profitable mission for search and rescue. Once I've completed all of these missions, what I need to do is go back into the Pilatus as an employee and finish those missions up at an S rating every single time. Earn as much money as reputation points as possible and just come in, rinse and repeat. Quick and dirty. I do recognize that it is the holiday season, and that if you're watching along right now, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for spending your Christmas Eve with me. If you don't celebrate any of the holidays, I still appreciate you being here. It's all about learning a little bit every day and enjoying Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. I'm in 100%. I'll chase forklifts around on the runway all day. Even if I get the taxi speed, a little performance notch really though? Yeah, it's good times. You gotta admit it. Just playing. I'm just playing. Get your taxi speed. That's only affecting aviator performance, right? So that's that reputation bonus. But what I think that may play into is not just how many missions, but the difficulty ratings of those missions. Maybe I just got a little too excited. New missions all the time. If you've been following this channel for a while, you have seen me struggle to find search and rescue missions within my own airline. And it's not just the case anymore. It's just not. little bit of planning and some forethought went into it, and it's a completely different experience. We'll put a little sim rate increase on that, maybe 2 times over, and we're just going to go for a ride. Maybe if I can gain control without crashing into a hillside. How far out can we find her? Getting ready to slow down that sim rate increase. Start to get down to the water surface a little bit. Want to make that right hand turn this time. I even came out of the search area just to dump right back into it, but at a different angle. Gotta get a view. You just gotta get a view every once in a while. Check out the boat. That's what they built it for. Smoke, smoke, smoke. 3 missions over the water. Each one of them is going to be different, different, and different. Flying these 100% from outside is abnormal. It is uncomfortable. But I'm getting better at it. Ish. Gauging speed, I think, is the most difficult part. You can sometimes get away with signaling before you see smoke deployed because some of these survivors only carry a mirror and there is no smoke. So it really truly does vary by mission. Because I've already done it and I was pretty far out that time. Let's kind of do a little bit of an orbit around here and see which way we got our smoke coming into effect. It actually kind of looks like it's going straight up. So I guess we're going to dive in. Time of day really does make a difference with these as well, because you can see now that that interaction with the rotor wash on the water is not nearly as dramatic as it was prior. There are more clouds, more contrast in the scene. There's my shadow on the water when I'm just now coming over the top of it. I'm going to go ahead and announce and just try to hold. Too far away again. I wound up in front of him. Even using the manual hoist controls that I have on the HOTAS, it does nothing to retrieve the rescue swimmer. It literally just always pays out as much line as you have on board. It's simply fantastic. Swim, buddy, swim. Can you do me a favor and please just put on some flippers? Oh, again. Just slightly off. Coming down hard. I want manual control. If it's available on the control panel, let's go for a full walk around. Let's regroup. Come back up here. lot different when you don't talk, isn't it? Look at how much quicker that went when I wasn't talking. Who was it that said I talk too much? Who said that? Somebody was onto something. Who said that? I know it's been said before in chat. Comment one way or another. Someone told me before that I talk too much. That was like the perfect delivery. And I just had to stay quiet for a minute. Thanks for spending your holiday with me. I appreciate you having me. As a part of your evening, thanks for coming along for the ride, saving people's lives in virtual. It's good times. Hopefully you're learning something from it. If you ever have any questions, obviously feel free to ask. I can multitask for the most part. I do enjoy the way the slack line just every once in a while impacts the rotor and you see it like flick off to the side. What's up, boss Samara? Merry Christmas to you too. Thanks for coming by. How far into your search and rescue missions are you? I'm out of gas. Are you kidding me? Listen, I was literally just talking about this gas issue, and I can promise you that that is actually what just happened right there. You're still using 2020? I don't blame you. I'm kind of jealous at this point, Awesome Air, because we experience things like this. And it's probably my own lack of vigilance. But now, once again, my company is in the hole another 40s. Oh my goodness. I promise you that aircraft ran out of gas midair. And we're going to have to go into our companies and see this great big little flag right here. This is good times. Welcome. What a great time to join in. This is epic. Fleet. Manage the aircraft. It's probably going to need a bunch of maintenance. These are repaint for 86K. Let's just check it up. Yep, I'm just going to dump the money. All of it. Pay it. Everything's back in a good working order. I still have 200K. Let this be a lesson to everybody out there, even though I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll probably crash again because of the same reason. Check your fuel. Check your fuel. I can't believe I did that again. Successful mission out of the water. What happens? We tank it with no gas. Oh, these are the days of our lives. And now we come back into that same situation that we've had before that makes me crack up every time. If I want to continue at this point, which obviously I do, I'm going to have to move over to the next available option, which are one of these 4 missions. And the closest one is probably down here. And it's going to cost us half of what we have. So now is the point in our failures. Our unfortunate failures. Where you just have to kind of say, okay, I'm going to go back to my headquarters. I'm going to turn this pilot off for a minute. Because apparently this dude needs a break. So I'm going to come into all companies, manage the company. Again, I'm going to turn it into an off configuration before I leave the career mode as a freelancer. And I can come back, and now I can kind of recoup the cost of that lost aircraft and reputation and they do. However, Serial Delta, if you didn't notice, I was actually flying most of that flight from outside of the aircraft, and I didn't see that flashing caution light on the dash that said, hey, buddy, you're out of fuel, right? That's the kind of downside of streaming these, because I do a lot of that flight from the outside of the aircraft as compared to inside. All right, so I'm not paying as much attention to my flight instruments as I honestly should be. That seems to be like the biggest issue, is just honestly how much time I'm spending focused. However, now I have missions, right? Before, when we were coming in and out of these, things were just, they weren't available. This one right here, I've never even seen before. Yeah, the one out here inside of the bay is one we've done lots of times. Even though this mission's probably extremely similar, it's a location that hasn't been available prior. So even though I'm failing at these missions, I am opening up more and more doors for search and rescue as I go through. Even down here in the southern U.S. states, we're seeing missions that were never generated before, and these are just coming into play as we even fail. The lesson here is just don't give up. You'll also see that some of these missions are cub crafters, right? These aren't search and rescue helicopter missions. These are search and rescue missions that are done in a DHC-2 and cub crafters, right? But I'm still able to stay in the same genre. Not necessarily helicopters, but I don't go that route anyway. What I prefer to do in the meantime is take these missions. The medevac missions on the employee side of things really do make a pretty decent amount of money, and using the sim rate increase and decrease with these missions is extremely beneficial. These 6.5 hour missions generally only take me an hour, and I will hand fly that 1 hour, but at a 4 times sim rate increase. And it works perfectly. As long as you time your descent right, those missions work out really well. I've even gone back and done some of the flight seeing missions in order to open up those search and rescue fixed wing missions. And now I have 20 of these specializations unlocked. I'm getting closer to having heavy unlocked, but for some reason, I am having the most difficult time trying to score an A or above with these transport medium missions. And this is one area where there's a lot of profit to be made. Periodic instrument OBs become a natural function, same as when driving a car, but a bit more critical. Just slightly more critical. Just slightly. But I know these cargo heavy transport missions make a lot of money in AI flights too, when you're making money in the background, but I still don't truly trust that system based off of my own experience. So it's kind of like, well, what do you do? And it turns out to be the same thing every time. Just keep playing the game. Keep your head above water when your company is doing well. I was doing pretty good. The 23rd and 24th were okay. And then today, Christmas morning, here I go crashing my helicopter. Either way, like I said, I'm in for it. A lot of people have questions about their key bindings and everything like that. They're still getting into the systems, trying to figure out why they can't fly the aircraft. But once you get the key bindings and sensitivities right, the rest of it is just kind of choosing your own path. Choose your own path. I've had to restart my career mode already. This is my second time through. I didn't have a VIP and a cargo and a search and rescue my first time through. I just had one. I went specifically at search and rescue. So what I'll do every once in a while is kind of throw an aircraft at one of these and then sell it. Or I'll just let them sit there. I've tried several different things. However, it's a success in my book every single time. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's been a blast. It's been a ball. Thank you so much for joining us. We will do this again very soon. Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad. Celebrate the holidays with you and your loved ones any way that you can. If you don't, I still appreciate you being here. And I will see you in the next one.